Hello and welcome into our season premiere of Behind the Plate with T. I'm the baseball voice of the Hoyas, Jeremy Huber, joined by Georgetown head coach Edwin Thompson. Coach T, so good to see you again.
Man, it's great to see you. It's been a while. So looking forward to getting this thing cranked up with you today. And I know that when I see you, we're about a week away from baseball season. So it's exciting times.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to one heck of a season we're all hoping for after the last few campaigns. And, Coach, let's talk about those first back-to-back 30-win seasons in program history. What does it mean for your program?
It means a lot. I think when we took over the program back in 2020, we kind of wanted to establish ourselves as one of the top teams in our conference and obviously in the country. And when you win 30 games around college baseball, there's only a handful of teams that can say that year after year and be consistent at that. And I think we haven't had that overall success traditionally year after year. We're building that now as we kind of establish ourselves as one of the top teams in our league. And obviously our goal is to continue to keep pushing the program forward.
And Edwin, kind of getting to 30 the way you did, qualifying on the last day, you turn a double play with bases loaded to get the win, and then you win a game in the Big East tournament for the first time. What kind of momentum do you think that gave your bunch?
Well, like anything, you can't get to a regional without winning a game in a conference tournament or winning a conference tournament. So just having that ability, it's been the last 2 years we've came down to the last series to must win against a top ranked team. And so I think it allows us to know that we're capable of doing that. We just hope we can do that a little bit sooner in the year to have that, going to last weekend. But at the end of the day, we did what we had to do to get in. We overcame, 3 or 4 major injuries to our, players that we lost that were significant players, starters, potential starters. So we found a way. We overcame a lot of that. And I think that's what good teams do and good programs do. We have good depth. So momentum wise, it allows us knows that we've been there. We're one of two, us and Xavier and UConn, only 2 teams our 3 teams have been back-to-back to the tournament. So we've been there now. Now it's our time to kind of take that next step, which is ultimately hopefully get to Saturday and be playing for a championship, of the tournament.
Well, I tell you what, it gave a lot of Hoya fans some great memories if it gave you a little bit of an ulcer, maybe winning those games the way you had to against UConn 2 years ago and Xavier last year. Coach, let's get into, of course, the ace for last year's team, Jake Bloss. Such a good pitcher for you guys. Ends up going in the 3rd round of last year's MLB draft, highest ever for a Georgetown player at 99 overall. How happy were you for him? And what kind of message does that send to current and maybe potential Hoyas?
Well, it does a lot. Coach George Capon, our pitching coach, and Coach Mo Bankston, player development, did a great job with Jake to come in. Undrafted out of high school, undrafted as a junior. Had the ability, had some skill set, but really refined himself once he got here. It shows our player development system really is like there for our guys. It allows us to have that ability. We want them to strive for greatness, no matter if on the classroom or on the field. So those 2 things are now, are tangible, and people can say, yeah, we can actually do that. And we are proud of that. I think it's one that we're going to continue to have more players drafted at that capacity and higher, and allows, future players to say, I can go to Georgetown and get the best of both worlds at a level that I want to play at, high level baseball, high level academics, and have a chance to reach my dreams at playing professionally. So I think that's really what it says. But Jake did put a lot of work on his own time, but credit to him, and excited, to help him see where he goes. That's the exciting part now is once a pro team has him, we've done our part. Now we can just right there be a fan and watch, and hopefully see him in the big league someday.
Yeah, again, Bloss is such a good guy for this team. So many good players and good guys on this squad. We talked about the wins, talk about draft picks, but so many numbers that just new highs for this Georgetown program. Homers, total bases, double plays, saves. Again, what do those numbers say about the growth of the team and the program?
Well, I have great assistant coaches. I think that says a lot. We have players that buy into our system. We have players that understand what it's going to take. And now they see those numbers being broken. You never try to reach out and say, we're going to break this record or that record. It just kind of happens naturally. And I think when you have players that are selfless and they're team first guys, they're not really worried about, they're worried about helping the team win. And that may not always be individually best for them, but what helps the team win. And I think all those are byproduct of having great people in the organization, a great culture and environment that we have. And I think that allows us to have those numbers that are reached. But I think it's, when you sit back and you reflect all the different numbers over the last couple of years, it's really exciting to see what's possible. I think that's the part that our guys love, and we just continue to want to push the envelope every year. What can we do next? And I think that's kind of the mantra we want to have, is continue to grow and build on this thing that we've been doing the last couple of years.
Edwin, also highest RPI, I believe, for this squad. Georgetown, of course, the oldest team on the hilltop when it comes to program length, but has not made the NCAA tournament. When you kind of think of that, it makes folks think of that, man, this thing's possible. Again, kind of where do you stand on that? And maybe the message to your team when it comes to, hey, this is becoming a thing that we really think we can get to, have a shot to get to Omaha.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think, as we've kind of grown, our schedule's grown, but, look at last year, Xavier and UConn both made it in. UConn had an at-large bid. And so I think we can be a 2-bid or even a 3-bid league in the Big East. I think we have, between all the teams are so balanced and so well coached. But if you schedule the right games and win the right games over the course of the year, your body of work is really what matters. And I think that allows us to have those opportunities to think about, hey, if we get to a Saturday and we win X amount of games in the right ones, RPI wise, which it's a whole another episode of that. But I think having that opportunity with our league being so strong and the good teams we do have, and obviously our non-league schedule, it allows us to really have those possibilities. And I think that's what every coach wants. You just want to get in the postseason and allow your team to grow. I think, 56 games are guaranteed in the regular season, right? And so the ones that are earned are Big East tournament and beyond. And so you have to put yourself in position in the Big East tournament to get there, to be there, and to be consistent year in and year out, and to have those opportunities of also winning those games, nationally, regionally, that help you, from an RPI standpoint.
Well, Coach, that schedule is a bear. We'll get into it in just a moment, but I guess time to talk about your cave for this year. It's a brand new field for the Hoyas. You'll be playing at Capital One Park in Tyson's Corner. I've been down there. You guys practiced there in the fall. I got down there for one of your Fall World Series games and for the exhibition against Maryland. And boy, was it a heck of a place to watch a baseball game. Kind of tell us about this new spot for the Hoyas down in the Tyson's Corner area.
Yeah, for those, fans that don't know, I mean, Georgetown moved off campus back in 2000, been at different locations for a long period of time. And so I think, being in DC, you can build up, it's hard to build out. And so finding a spot that has the amenities that we need as far as the space, the level of AstroTurf, lights, grandstand, press box, a locker room, party deck, concessions, all the things you want when you go to a ballpark, it's all there. And it's a great location. We have that metro stop within 2 blocks from the field. So if you can't drive down and want to deal with traffic, take the metro to come see us play. If you live in the area, easy access to get to, great restaurants and things like that. So I think it's allowed our players to feel a sense of calm and be at home. And Capital One Park is just great partners. I mean, they have just done so many great things to allow us to have a great facility, and we're so fortunate to be able to be aligned with them. But we're excited. I mean, our fans we had this past fall for our fall game against Maryland, I mean, it was 600 plus fans. I mean, it was really electric. And they built a new bleacher seats for 300 plus more fans to get more people in there. So we're excited to see what this will look like in this first year, being down there, and our students can come out. And I think it will allow just a great overall venue to watch college baseball. Not too big, not too small, but it really hits a lot of the marks that we were looking for when we try to figure out a place we can kind of be more permanent long term.
And T, it's funny, I'm a history major. I'm a history buff. It's amazing to sit there in a baseball field and you almost get the feel of what it might have been like in the 1940s when you had these parks in the middle of a city. You have the elevated train tracks next to it. You have skyscrapers. I mean, do you ever kind of look around and go, this is one of the unique venues now in college baseball?
Oh, there's no doubt. I don't know of many other place that has a subway over top, has houses behind out in left field. You have Capital One, the headquarters of Capital One, a major Fortune 500 company right there, and to go with all the different things and all the different places people. I mean, so it's we pinch ourselves. I mean, I think it's just the venue. It just allows you to dream, and we always talk about dreaming big in our program and being electric. But like, it's really a lot of exciting times because The fans will really enjoy it. I know our students will. It's a little off campus, but it's really not that far of a drive from campus, and to get to on a metro, it's a couple stops from the downtown. So really, really grateful. But yeah, it's a really beautiful. When the subway going throughout the game, it's we're used to it now, so we kind of got used to the noises and the sounds. But I think you do feel like you're in a city because you're right there off the highway. You're right there on a major interpass. So it's really looking forward to seeing what our fans will enjoy.
Yeah, easy access from a lot of different roads as well. You just couldn't get a better spot for the Hoyas. Coach, you will start your home schedule in March. Fairleigh Dickinson, the opening series for you guys down there. It's part of a fun schedule at Capital One this year when you got games 2 against Maryland. You have UConn, Seton Hall, of course, in conference, local rivals, George Mason, GW. Kind of talk about that home slate.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we always want to have a great home schedule for our fans. And obviously, we're bringing in some really good teams in the non-conference early in March. And Fairleigh Dickinson, they're predicted to be one of the top teams. We play Albany and we play Cornell as well on the weekends. And so, and then you just got your rivals, right? I mean, the battle, Maryland and us, we've been the top 2 teams as far as wins goes the last 2 years in this region. Obviously, George Mason went to regional last year. Playing GW is always going to be a rivalry. So you got those natural games that are just in this area, such good baseball, such well coached. And then obviously, you got the defending, Big East regular season champs last couple of years, and in UConn for alumni weekend, we have a great weekend planned for all of our alum to come back and join us. Then Seton Hall, obviously up the road, and Villanova to open up. So I just, really couldn't ask for a better slate to open up this new venue that we have, and looking forward to, the new teams coming in and the Big East, hopefully really enjoying the experience just as much as our players do.
And T, let's get to that road schedule or neutral site schedule. We have to add that in as well. You look at some of the folks that you will be going to visit this year: Ohio State, single game at Maryland, Wake Forest. We know what they did last year, Duke, Boston College. Then the jewel of it all, you'll be out at the MLB Desert Invitational in Arizona. Kind of tell us about the event in the desert and then kind of the rest of that road schedule.
Yeah, I think, we booked this schedule. You book it a couple years out when you do scheduling. You kind of look at your roster, you kind of see who's coming back, who's, all those things. And so we had this senior group with Michael Eze, Jake Hyde, Everett Catlett, that group that was fresh when we first got here. We felt like, hey, they're playing a lot as freshmen, and we think they're going to be pretty good as seniors. And so we kind of put this together partly, and then we added a bunch of pieces, obviously, with different players we added. But, to open up at a national tournament, at a Major League Baseball sponsored event, for our program is a big deal, and it's going to be on all MLB.com platforms, so it's going to be well covered. Obviously, you're playing at Grand Canyon University, a regional team the last couple of years. They're predicted to win their conference in their venue. If you don't know college baseball, they probably have one of the top 5-10 attendance year in after year. There'll be a great fan base, and then playing at a Major League ballpark at the Colorado Rockies against Cal Bear in the Pac-12. And then you're playing at a ranked top 25 team in Kansas State at the Cubs professional Major League ballpark. So spring training anyway. So I think when you look at that, it's like a regional. It's like a conference tournament. You're going to play 3 different teams, 3 different days. Obviously, the goal is to get to Sunday with a chance to get to super regional, right, or just win the series. And so I think we scheduled that by design. We were fortunate how it worked out. And then our non-conference, we wanted to challenge ourselves, and Wake Forest, #1 team in the country. Duke is a team that we mirror those academic institutions at higher learning. They've had great success the last couple of years, and they're regional teams, Omaha type teams. Boston College was in a regional last year. Virginia's obviously was in the World Series last year. So when you look at that schedule and you say, okay, wow, that's a really daunting schedule, but it's what our players signed up for. When you come to Georgetown, there's nothing, you don't settle coming here. Right? You don't settle just coming. It's a safety school. It's a high level academic. And my vision has always been to mirror the two. And so challenge ourselves on the field and off the field to make sure it blends and get the best experience for our kids. And I think it'll allow us to grow and, ultimately get ready for the Big East play. But I think there's no easy games anymore in college baseball with so much transferring the portal and all that different stuff, but it allows us to kind of see where we're at. And ultimately we want to be one of those top 10, 15, 20 teams in the country year after year. So you have to kind of play those teams. And ultimately, when you get into a regional, you may play one of those teams as a host site, right? So it's also by design. The last couple of years, we played a bunch of teams in our region that either host regionals or consistently being regional, so it's not going to be a big deal when we do get there, and it'll just be like, hey, we've already played these guys at their ballpark or whatever. So all those things are kind of factors in, but we're excited about the schedule, and we know it's going to be challenging, but that's what we signed up for.
T, you talk about experiences. I feel like over the years, following along on social media and the other things, it feels like you guys have trying to get the kids experiences, not only on the field, but off the field. I remember you guys had the whole crew up at MLB Network Studios when you were at one of your road trips, either at Seton Hall or St. John's, other things like that. Kind of why is that something that you like to make sure you get a chance for these kids to do?
Well, it's a great experience. I mean, we have some kids that have never been past the Mississippi, for going out west. Obviously we try to tie things into where we have a lot of recruits. We recruit on the West Coast quite a bit, a lot of West Coast kids to try to get them a little closer for their friends and families. And we'll get out there. We'll figure something out. We're going to do some great things. While we're out there, we have some great Georgetown alums that are in front offices for Major League Baseball teams. We have a lot of connections out there. So that'll be a great experience that we'll have. And I think every time we go somewhere, if it fits in the schedule, we want to provide them, it's not just baseball. Yeah, it's baseball. Our job is to win games, but we want to give them a good experience and expose them to new things and meet new people. This year we have some great things lined up. We go back to New York, we go to Boston. We have such great alumni all over the country, so we're so fortunate that where we go, we're going to always feel like we're at home. And it allows us to kind of have some time to do some things as a team, helps us grow, helps us build team bonding and chemistry, and really just excited to have those opportunities when you get on the road. You can be at home. We'll be at home for a while in March, so that's okay. But when we get on the road, it's important to kind of experience some different things that maybe individually or collectively we haven't done as a group. So I think it's fun to have those opportunities in those moments.
You mentioned the players. Let's get into some of those guys this year. We'll start behind the plate. Owen Carpellotti, such a good player. Again, played in the Appy League after his freshman year, ends up playing in the Cape Cod League last year. All Big East honors. This guy is really a stalwart of your squad.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with him. I think he's an All-American, was a Player of the Year as a freshman, went to the Cape Cod, as you said, and I think really learned a lot. When you go to the Cape, you just learn a lot. You grow. You fail, and you have all those moments, but you come back better. And I never had players that went to the Cape and didn't come back a better player. He's always been a great human, great person, great leader. But now it's like taking some of those limitations he had and transition those into strengths. And so I think, he's had a great preseason so far, and he's ranked, whatever he is in the country. But that doesn't matter to me. What matters is just how he continues to be the best person. He's a great leader for our pitching staff. He challenges them. And a lot of success we've had, behind the plate and pitching wise is because of him. And so looking forward to see his growth. And, I think he's one of the top players in our country, to be honest. And I think, very rarely do you find a combination of a power left-handed hitting catcher that can hit all fields and has, can put the ball in play. So very, very athletic, worked really hard this offseason with Coach Brock Keener to help him with his game and his catching wise, and seeing the growth there has been really good to see.
Coach, of course, you mentioned him leading that pitching staff. A couple guys there of note, of course, Everett Catley you mentioned, but a lot of eyes on the sophomore Cody Bowker. Talk about Cody and the rest of that group on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, we had a freshman last year that emerged. He was a two-way player. Now he's just pitching. So I think it's one that he kind of recognized. We recognized this as a staff and made a decision that was best for him and our team, and to help us to get out there and give us the best chance. And he's had a really good summer. He pitched in the Big East tournament, and against a game that mattered, the most important game we had so you look at what that experience he'll have, and he's pitching some big games and some high leverage situations. So I think, having a full fall and a full offseason to work with our pitching coach, and as I said, to kind of settle in, he's a special talent. It's really rare to have ultra competitor, and just, again, a combination of just really athletic pitcher on the mound. It's fun to watch. And, he had a good fall and a good preseason. So just, going to go out there and play somebody different and see how he does. But if he progresses like we think, he could be a guy that could hear his name in 2025's draft as well, up there with like Jake Bloss type situation. So he's really strong, really, really passionate, but he's been really great to see the growth of him as a pitcher.
Of course, those two guys in Cody and Carpellotti, kind of guys we knew that really had some talent, kind of buffing out those edges. A couple guys that, of course, on this team who become stars, maybe didn't have that pedigree. Jake Hyde, one of them, Coach, of course, such an amazing 2022 for him. Talk about Jake, where he's gotten better and where he's looked to maybe bounce back this year after some teams may have kind of focused in on him more in 2023.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, Jake didn't even make the travel roster, for his freshman year at times, and so he really has worked extremely hard to make himself into a prospect. He's one of the top outfitters in the country in our league. And I think he'll hopefully have a bounce back year is all relative. I think he had 16 home runs, hit 300, but relative to that year he had that sophomore year where it was like, whoa, yeah, and team's going to focus on you. But I think it's one that with our lineup that we're going to have and the balance that we're going to have, it's going to be hard to focus on just one guy, because if you do that, there's a lot of other guys behind that with a lot of at-bats in college, really, really experienced on the offensive side to kind of see what they can do. So for me, I just want him to be himself. I think sometimes as a junior, you put a little too much pressure on yourself naturally because of the draft and those type of things. I think when you have that senior year and you're kind of play free and easy, we probably should see some things like he did back in his sophomore year. But he's been a great leader off the field. Defensively, he's improved his base running. So all those areas that, you kind of have to refine a little bit. But his competitiveness is there. And, that swing is as good as they come. Obviously left-handed. So looking forward to getting him just being himself. And as long as he beats himself, we're happy with that.
T, who are some other faces to watch in the outfield?
We have a transfer this year from Bryant College or University, Derek Smith, player from Maine. I'm from Maine, so keeping those Maine pipeline connected is important. But has been a really good leader. Really stepped in and has established himself as one of our leaders in the program in a very short period of time, which is hard to do coming in, with 1 year, so to speak. I think we got a young freshman, Ashton Gillio. He's been a switch hitter from Colorado. He's been a really big surprise. Looking forward to seeing him and kind of seeing what he does. Kavi Castor, transferred from Salisbury to Division III All-American, played in the College World Series. Local kid from Maryland, wanted to come back home and kind of finish up his time here. Andrew Bergeron is back, a ton of experience. With Jaden Sheffield, Travis Illich, really deep in the outfield, and have a lot of flexibility, a lot of options. So it's just gonna be fun to kind of see how that, as the season goes, kind of how that shakes out. But those core guys will kind of be their everyday guys, and just on capacity, they'll all be helping each other out to win games.
Edwin, one of the cornerstones of your infield, Michael Eze, and he's another guy, a guy who has developed so well. I remember calling games as a freshman. It seemed like at times, as they old say, I believe you couldn't hit water as you fell out of a boat. A lot of strikeouts, and again has just refined his game so much, almost a completely different player. Talk about Mike and the growth that he has made to make himself the player he is now.
Yeah, I think it's seeing growth is you're probably right. If he fell out of the boat, he wouldn't know what hit him, and I think it was that time of year, that time that group had, to overcome what they did with no fall, no preseason, no senior year. Like you couldn't expect too much from them, but they really bought in, they really worked, and I done a lot of investment. He had a great summer in the Cape Cod League, really did well. And then defensively, he's improved his area. Yeah, utility type player, a senior, has been one of the top players in our league. Was all conference last year during the regular season or postseason and everything. So, we know what we're going to get with him, and we've seen that growth, especially last year. Took a step offensively, and really has worked hard defensively to kind of clean up some of those errors he had last year. And so hopefully, he kind of just continue to enhance his game overall.
And T, who are some other folks to watch in that infield?
Well, yeah, Christian Ficca. I feel like he's been here only 4 years. I think everyone in the league feel like he's been here forever just because of just his personality, and you get to know him. And he's been so steady at first base. I mean, he's an elite defender. I mean, he's a Gold Glove type first baseman, athletic. He's 6'4". It's a beautiful thing to have an overthrow left to right. He saves a lot of balls on our infield. And then offensively, if you saw that last stretch of the end of the year where he was kind of just on, they couldn't get anybody couldn't get him out. But having, again, another senior 4-year starter, at first base, we got a transfer, Josh Rowling, from who's been drafted out of high school by the Braves, and then had a really good job at Sacramento State the last couple of years. Again, thanks to COVID, we have extra years of eligibility in grad school. Blake Scaff, who's a freshman, left-handed hitter from California, very talented guy, second baseman. Joe Hollerback, transfer from Cornell, grad transfer. Actually hit a home run against us a couple of years ago when we played Cornell back in 2022. And we're like, hey, we like that guy, and had the extra eligibility, so we kind of always tracked him. And Marco Castillo. I think Marco, out of a lot of the guys we had returning from last year, didn't have the numbers as well, but he's really made a point. He had played a lot this summer. He did a lot of great things. He put a lot of time in, and he has made a really big step and growth in his game, and we're looking forward to him contributing at a bigger level than he did last year. And that's what happened. That's what growth is about, and it's okay. And then we got a bunch of great freshmen, Vernon Clay, who was the RBI MVP, RBI World Series MVP this past summer, Brett Weinger, state championship. We got a lot of guys that, in that infield that will kind of give depth, but also, we'll have a good experience infield. It's going to be kind of fun to watch those guys kind of learn and grow as the year goes.
T, you mentioned a lot of new faces. Another new face that has a really interesting story is Nick Davis, one of your pitchers, competed for Team Italy in the 2023 Baseball European Championships. Comes into the program, talk about him and his experience and other guys like that kind of coming to Georgetown, maybe after a few years in other spots.
Yeah, I think with Nick, it was such a great experience and opportunity. I played at Northeastern, a top 25 team, been in a regional, been a team that's been won 40 games, was kind of a bullpen staple for them the last couple of years. And so when it kind of worked out that he was looking, and we kind of for graduate school, we really just were excited. And then once we kind of got to know him and heard his story, he asked, hey, I have this opportunity to pitch in this from Team Italy in the European Championships. It's in the fall. It was probably like he probably was here for like a week and had to go get shipped out. Thankfully, his classes are online, so he didn't miss any academics. But we want guys to pitch internationally. We want guys to play internationally, whether it be for their country, for USA, or for their heritage. That's all great things, because again, that shows the growth and possibilities at Georgetown. The players that we have, we want them to explore and to do things that have never been done. And I think having him have that chance, and obviously, the goal is to be on the World Baseball Classic qualifier down the road, and the Olympics, all those things that will potentially come up for him. We want that. So it was a great experience for him. Really happy, to kind of see that. Great. I think some new players that kind of came in. I think we have a freshman, a really good freshman class. It's our first recruiting class. Just kind of give you context. We got hired in 20. So meaning that we saw these kids as juniors, a normal cycle. So it's our first full cycle of recruiting in year 4 of kids that actually are on campus. We had other recruits, but actually seeing them, the first years with all COVID, the last year's class, Cody Bowker's class and that whole group was all we saw them late. But this class is our first cycle of kids that we actually been able to kind of have a full experience with. So kind of unique in that regard. But Marcello, guy named Marcello, he's a left-handed pitcher from New Jersey, state championship pitcher. You'll see him throw quite a bit at some point this year. Jojo Franco, a pitcher from New York, really good arm, has had steady growth with what he's been doing. And, those are a couple of the guys that have kind of the guys that are returning. And we have, Jordan Yoder, Cody Jensen, Aiden Head, Andrew Williams, Carson Fry. I mean, you kind of have some names you've kind of heard the last couple of years, and now they're kind of seniors or their experience. Andrew Cintron, Andrew Jurgens taking jumps, from last year's group from the pitching side of things. So we really have a really good balance and depth. Matt Sapienza, who was hurt last year, we're hoping to get him back full strength here very soon. So again, a wide range of options and a lot of things. As long as we can kind of stay healthy, I think some of those new guys have a chance to get out there, and the guys are returning will continue hopefully be themselves and elevate their game even more.
Well, T, thank you so much. We want to let folks know you want to follow along with the program. You can do it on Twitter/X at Gtown Baseball, on Instagram at Hoya Baseball. Again, so much to get involved with. Get on board early. It's going to be another fun year on the hilltop, or off the hilltop, as it were, for the Hoya Baseball squad. Coach T, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks as always, and thanks to what you do and for our program. And looking forward to all the fans coming out to Capital One Park and following us along. As Jeremy said, come out, support the boys. We got a good group, and looking forward to seeing you at the ballpark. That'll
wrap it up for this edition of Behind the Plate with T. Remember, Georgetown kicks their season off February 16th at the MLB Desert Invitational. See it in person in Arizona, or watch at MLB Network or at MLB.com. Again, thanks to Coach T. Edwin Thompson and producer John Flannery. That's all for Behind the Plate with Coach T. I'm Jeremy Huber, Hoya Saxa.